Hey guys, Barrett here. Welcome back to another video. Today, we're talking about some of the best ways that you can prepare for a successful pickleball tournament. Let's get started. Okay, so there's one really important concept to cover here, just kind of right off the bat. If you already have a partner, you can probably skip ahead a little bit, but one of the most important things to understand when you are going into a tournament, especially for the first time, is that you have to find a partner that's going to share the same goals as you. If you don't have a partner that's similar to you in terms of what you want to get out of a pickleball tournament, you're probably going to be pretty miserable. It's not fun if you're like kind of a casual player and you're just going into a tournament for fun or to see what it's about, to be paired up with someone who's won like 10 gold medals and expects you to be super competitive and work hard all day long and stuff like that. So I would say right off the bat, when it comes to finding a partner, if you haven't found one yet, try to find someone who's going to be similar to you in terms of what your expectations are for the tournament. Okay, so let's get into some of the physical stuff behind me in terms of how to really prepare for one in terms of what you need to bring. Okay, so this is a collection of items that I take with me to any given pickleball tournament. Now, of course, it's going to depend on whether it's indoor or outdoor, but in general, this is what I take with me. So of course I've got my tennis shoes. If it's indoor, of course I take my court shoes and not these are outdoor tennis shoes. But I also take a pair of socks, extra pair. In fact, I take 2 pair, but also I take a pair of sandals. One of the things you have to understand about pickleball tournaments is that when you play in one, they're going to be much more competitive than rec play, and the opponents are going to be much more difficult because they want to win, and therefore they're going to make you work harder, and therefore you're going to sweat more. Your feet will sweat like crazy, especially if it's outdoor. So make sure that you take an extra pair of socks, but also take a pair of sandals so that in between games, when you have a break for an hour or so, you can let your socks and your shoes dry. I also take some extra paddles. This is my main paddle at the moment, review coming soon. But I also take some extra ones because you never know what's going to happen with the one that you use. All of a sudden your paddle could snap off and then you're going to need an extra. I also, this may not be you, but for me, I have a ton of paddles. I've got like probably 30 at this point that I review for Pickleball Kitchen, and I will take an extra one for my partner just in case maybe his will break. You never know. It's best to be prepared. If I don't have one, the same one that my partner uses, then obviously it's no big deal, but just for preparation purposes. Like I said, you will sweat way more than what you're used to. So personally, I bring a gigantic towel. I don't bring a hand towel or like a bath towel, I take a full-blown towel. We're talking like beach towel levels. And this does a couple of things. First of all, it's got plenty of room. You're only going to need one, and it can flop over a tennis net quite easily. Oftentimes pickleball tournaments are held on tennis courts, and there's the gigantic net that separates the courts. So this is super useful for that. But what you can also do is put it over your head if you're watching a game. So oftentimes when I go to tournaments, I'll go and watch my students. And whenever I do, if it's outdoors, I'll just drape this over my head so that I'm not getting destroyed by the sun in the process. So speaking of the sun, be prepared to get absolutely cooked. I take sunscreen with me. I put it on before I leave, even if it's early in the morning, and then I'll reapply it throughout the day. You'll be surprised how quickly you can burn out there. At a recent tournament, we had people that weren't from Texas be very, very surprised at how often they get bit by bugs. If you're going to an area, especially if it's an area you're not used to or that you don't live in, be prepared for bugs. Again, this is for outdoor play, obviously. Same thing with sunscreen. I've got my water bottle, of course. I do bring some extra snacks. Sometimes pickleball tournament committees will have food available, but you never know. Just make sure you check and see if there's going to be breakfast or lunch provided or whatnot. And of course, extra shirts. I bring 3 or 4 with me, typically to any given pickleball tournament. Make sure that you're prepared to sweat like crazy. It can be quite annoying when you're in the middle of a match and your shirts are absolutely soaked to the point where you can no longer wipe your hands on your shirt. So now you're getting sweat all over your paddle handles, but you have no room to wipe it off real quickly. So having a dry shirt for every match, especially if you make it to the medal matches, is really, really important. And of course, the best thing about it all is they all fit into one bag. This is Onyx. This is the bag by Onyx. There's a new one out by Selkirk actually, which is pretty sweet, but something like this works just fine. So if this is your first pickleball tournament, make sure that you're physically prepared. It's going to make the day go a lot easier, and there will be less hiccups throughout your first experience. Okay, so that's just the physical preparation of what it takes to get ready for a pickleball tournament. But what's really important is your mindset, your mental preparation. If you're getting into a pickleball tournament for the first time, one thing that's really important to understand, this is something that I've talked about on my podcast many times, is pickleball tournaments are completely different than rec play. They are absolutely different things. I used to play golf a lot, and I used to play golf competitively, and the one thing my teacher used to tell me time and time again, tournament golf is different than playing with your buddies in the evening time with cigars. It is completely different, and pickleball works the same way. It's really important that when you go to a pickleball tournament for the first time, that you have the right kinds of expectations, okay? Because oftentimes what happens is really good players who play so well at their open play location will go to their first tournament and they'll get utterly obliterated. They'll get completely destroyed. They'll get knocked out. If it's double elimination, they'll get knocked out twice in a row, and they'll get just skunked basically. And they'll get so disappointed and so down on themselves, and some people may even stop playing, or at least stop playing so often. And that's the last thing that I want to see happen to you. So it's really important that if you're not used to competition, if you've never done tennis tournaments when you were young, or racquetball tournaments or whatever, to have the right kinds of expectations, to realize you're not used to competitive play, and so therefore you shouldn't expect too much out of your first tournament, right? But also to sort of try to balance out the positives and the negatives. So if you're new to this, there's probably going to be a lot of negatives. You're going to get killed in a couple of games. Like, that's going to happen. It happens to me, right? But being able to take home something positive is really important, okay? Because if you go home from a pickleball tournament with purely negatives, that's not going to be a good thing. And you're going to think about pickleball tournaments in a negative way. So to prepare for this, have the right kinds of expectations. If this is your first tournament ever in terms of sports, and this is your first sport ever, and you're 35, 40 years old, you can't expect to come home with a gold medal. That should be a bonus goal. That should be an extended goal, right? Your expectation should be, you know what? I'm going to go out there. I'm going to have a blast. I'm going to figure out what this whole thing is about, and I'm going to score a few points. Just let that be your goal. Just for now. Just baby steps here, right? Have that sort of mindset going in, so that if it doesn't go well, which is likely to happen, you'll be able to go home with something positive in your mind, so that the next time you go to a pickleball tournament, you have a lower bar to set. You don't have this gold medal thing in your mind. This is what I did for my first pickleball tournament. I am not used to competition. I was not competitive when I was young. I'm not that way. And so my whole mindset was, you know what? I'm just going to go into it thinking to myself, I'm just going to score 1 point. That's it. And you know what? I ended up doing way better than that. Didn't medal or anything, but did way better than that. And so that first tournament experience was so positive and so great that it encouraged me to get into more tournaments. Okay? So having the right kind of mindset going in is really important. If you've got your partner set and the tournament is 2 or 3 weeks away, and you want to prepare for the actual tournament itself, like the actual play and so on, think about things like the tournament ball, whether it's indoors or outdoors. Who's going to take, certain kinds of shots? Are you going to stack or not? have all those things set out beforehand. And, you know, if the tournament is indoors, play indoors only for the next couple of weeks. If it's outdoor, play outdoor only. If you're gonna be playing with the jugs indoor, only play with the jugs indoor, because that ball is very different than like the Durafast 40 and so on. Play with your partner. Developing court chemistry is huge when it comes to partner communication. Talk to each other. Be open. Be honest. Don't have any of this silent judgment stuff going on. Talk to each other on the court and off the court as well. That's going to give you the best chances when it comes to your very first pickleball tournament. I'm super excited for you. If you've got a little bit of tournament nerves, that's totally normal. Every single person I've talked to about getting into tournaments for the first time have had nerves. It's normal. I get them. Pros get them. It's very normal. Take deep breaths. Make sure you're hydrating early in the morning, and you're going to be just fine. Guys, I hope this was helpful. If you want to see more, pickleballkitchen.com. Feel free to subscribe down below. You can hit that little notification bell to let you know whenever I upload a video. Guys, thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.